This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles, and we are grateful to have you listen as well as subscribe in whatever way you are catching this podcast, whether it be on iTunes or Stitcher or Facebook or YouTube or one of the many ways it gets out all around the world. We are grateful to have you as part of the Mile High audience. And if you are not a subscriber, whatever way you are tuned into this, please take the moment to subscribe. Also, if you've not yet registered for Mile High, well, you need to get on that because it's coming up soon. We're just 120 days out at the day of recording this. So join us August 17th to 20th, and you can register at www.milehighchiro.org. I am super excited to introduce our guest today on the Mile High podcast, who's one of my friends. She has done incredible things within chiropractic, not only serving on the Sherman College Chiropractic Board of Trustees, also serving the FSCO and the IFCO, the current version of that, but has been with the FCO, since it was the FSCO, and also practiced in the Strauss Chiropractic Center, which has been widely recognized as one of the longest standing high-volume cash practices in the world. And so let's, without any further ado, welcome to the Mile High podcast, Dr. Judy Campanale. Welcome, Dr. Judy.
Hello, and the crowd goes wild. Woo! Hi, Danny. Hi, everybody.
And thank you for coming to us all the way from Pennsylvania, your home, and go Steelers. We'll start with that.
I'm very conflicted, Danny. I live on the east coast of Pennsylvania now. I'm in Philadelphia, but I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. So black and gold in my veins, so I get a lot of grief out here because I'm a Steeler fan, a Penguin fan, a Pirates fan, but that's okay.
I get it. And Rochelle is from the west of Pennsylvania as well. Now she's moved even more west, so we get a lot of flack out here about that as well.
It's hard to switch teams midstream, man. You got to go with the home team.
Of course. And you know what? I like going with the home chiropractic team as well, rather than chiropractic switching course.
There you go.
So let's let people get to know you a little bit first. How did you find your way into chiropractic?
Okay, the short version.
Yes.
Because I want to leave it behind me, really.
Got it.
I was a pre-med student at Carnegie Mellon University. I'd always wanted to be a medical doctor. I think there was a part of me that wanted to help people. I was good in school, so I think my parents automatically said, oh, she's going to be a doctor. And that fit into my personality. And it wasn't until I was in college and got misdiagnosed a couple of times that I started thinking, hey, I don't ever want to do that to somebody. It's not like I sued anybody or these were bad doctors. These were great doctors doing their job, but got it wrong 3 different times. And it had a significant impact on my life as a 19-year-old girl. So I just right there said, wait a minute. I don't know about this. And it's funny because I made the conscious choice then and ever since to not be in a profession whose objective is to diagnose and treat disease, Danny. From that moment, and I learned about chiropractic. I had a cousin who was a chiropractic assistant. She said, come meet my chiropractor, and just loved the office and got myself under care. And whenever I go there to have my spine checked, I felt energized. I felt, just attracted to this thing. And so when I said to him, if I were to go to chiropractic school, where would I go? He said, wherever Joe Strauss is. That was his answer to me. Wherever Joe Strauss is. So he was an ADIO Institute grad, that later became Penn State. And I went over to Penn State. I interviewed. I never even looked at any other school. Joe Strauss was teaching there at the time. This was in the 80s. And the rest is full speed ahead. Locate, analyze, and correct vertebral subluxations. No diagnosing and treatment of diseases for me. So.
And that's so funny because you continued on as go wherever Joe Strauss is, and you ended up in his office.
They never told me when to stop that, I guess. They just followed me around like a puppy dog. I don't know. Yeah, that wasn't intentional either. Really, I had intended to go back to Pittsburgh because, as I said earlier, I love Pittsburgh, and it is my home. I had intended to go back. He asked me if I wanted to stay on and associate, and I thought that was a great idea, to get my hands on people, maybe save a little bit of money before I went back to Pittsburgh and opened. I did like the way he ran the office, but I was hoping to start my own practice in the Pittsburgh area. And so I stayed there for a couple of years. In that time, like 3 months after I started there, I went on my first date with my husband of now 22 years. And he was from the Philadelphia area, and he had no interest in relocating to Pittsburgh. So
there you go.
25 years later, here I am in Philadelphia.
There you go. And I remember 25 years ago being at FSCO Triune seminars back then, and you presenting and Joe Strauss presenting, and I was a student. And so, and I always bought every one of Dr. Joe's blue books and read them all throughout school. And in fact, there's a couple.
Yeah, I see them. Good job, Danny. Did you plant there this fall?
Yeah, and I think a number of them, people need to read them. Especially one of my favorites was Case Management for the Objective Straight Chiropractor. I thought that was just phenomenal. And that goes into our topic of making chiropractic philosophy practical.
Yes. And it's interesting that you bring that particular book up. It is what I'll be speaking about at Mile High at your seminar. And briefly, obviously, it's a full-length book. I'm not going to present the whole book there, but some very key concepts that I think maybe we're losing, or well, I don't want to lose. I want to make sure that we don't lose, right, whether we're losing them or not. I want to get them firmly implanted in people's minds. But the interesting thing about that book, it came into being when I was a student, Danny. I thought I had a pretty good philosophical foundation, even as a student, because I came from that kind of office and was led to that kind of school, and had good friendship with not just Joe Strauss, but Brian McCulley, who was a philosophy instructor at Penn State at the time. And a whole, I was like you as a student. I went to seminars. I linked in with people. I asked questions. I was thinking even then. But even with that foundation, I had questions about why the school was making us do certain things. Right. Why do we have to x-ray everybody? Why are we learning gynecology? Questions like that as a student. Right. And even with my foundation, I got scared sometimes. Some of our instructors would tell us, if you didn't do X, Y, and Z, you could hurt somebody, or you should never adjust somebody with LMNOP. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know. I had someone come in the other day, a week or two ago, which is the other day. And, there was no chiropractor, he'd been to like 3 chiropractors and no one would touch him. And I'm like...
I hear it. I don't want to say I hear it all the time, but I hear that plenty.
Yeah.
So, and so I always say to people, listen, I might not do the same thing that we do to everybody else here, but we modify what we do to suit your case, right? Your case, or who you are today. We do different things people are different. So we do different things to different people. And even the same person is different visit to visit. So we need to ensure that what we're doing on this visit is perfect for you based on who you are today, right?
Absolutely.
But I didn't know all that then.
Right, right. Yes,
and it
got
disturbed me, and it scared me as a young I won't even say practitioner. I'm not sure that I was actually in the health center at that time. I probably was, but my wheels were already turning, like how am I going to make this work? How are we going to make this practical? What I learned in philosophy, how am I going to actually do this in the office?
Right.
And that's where this book came from, because I went to Joe and I said, do I have to do George's test on everybody?
Right.
Before I check them, I got to do George's test. I got to do these orthopedic exams or these neurological exams. Like, that's what they're telling me. And so that case management, the text, was actually written, born of my own student experience.
Right.
Answered a lot of questions that I had at the time, and I think probably answers a lot of questions that a lot of people have. So,
and I think there's vital things in that text about staying in your own lane in a clinical setting, because you can talk about it from the stage about staying in your lane in a philosophical setting or how you communicate, but then in a clinical setting, that's another area, and people cross that line and put themselves at risk, not realizing it.
Absolutely. And we do that consciously sometimes, and we do it unconsciously, I think. One of the biggest things, my pet peeve in chiropractic, is when chiropractors use nebulous phrases to encourage people under care that can be misunderstood by the patient. They're not really inaccurate, like, we can help you, right? I hear chiropractors say that all the time. Somebody comes in maybe with a headache, explains the whole thing, right? I've been having headaches for years, and I've tried this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And the chiropractor does whatever they do. And, there's no right or wrong there. Whatever your analysis package is, if you x-ray or whatever you do to determine what's going on with that person. And then the thing that they say is, we can help you. I believe that's true. Chiropractic helps people. It's a good thing. But to say that kind of nebulously, I think the patient probably hears, you can help me with my headache, not help me with my being or my fullest expression of life or my best performance. They hear what it is they came in for. And so that we have to be very careful of that.
Right.
It's not enough to say, well, I meant chiropractic can help you. I get that might be what they mean, but that's not what the practice member hears or the person in front of them hears. So there's a lots of things that chiropractors do like that I think unnecessarily sets them up really for failure.
Yes.
Because then we get to that thing. So the person feels better, they quit, or they don't feel better, they quit. Well, because we haven't communicated well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because of a mismatched expectation. You set up one. You're not having agreement on what the expectations of the outcomes of your interaction clinically are, and of your care. They're thinking one thing and you're thinking something different, and that will be the case at times, of course, when someone walks into office. But it's your duty to get those to come together. That's your job, so people don't have a mismatched expectation, right? So, and that's one of the parts of being a chiropractor instead of being a medical doctor, right? Not that there's anything wrong with being a medical doctor, but it's a different profession the last I checked.
Exactly. And so part of, I think, it's not only important to be a good communicator, but to know these things and be aware of the possibility of this, and certainly not to intentionally mislead somebody for the sake of getting them in. Okay, because that's the thing. I feel like for our model of practice, it's challenging to educate people to exactly what we do.
Right.
Right. And I hear a lot of people say, well, you got to meet the person where they are. I don't really buy that. I get that we need to understand that they're not where we are, but our job is not to meet them where they are. Our job is to elevate them. Mm-hmm. And we do that by communicating, and clearly communicating what it is we do and what it is we have to offer. That might take a little more work, that might take a little more time, that might take a little more effort, right?
Right.
But it's incumbent upon us, if we're going to, and you mentioned earlier, case management really becomes about safety issues, right? Public safety issues, and being clear about what we do, staying in our lane,
Right. Right.
So part of the reason I feel like I enjoy such a low premium for my professional liability is because I do that. Because I'm clear about what I do and I stay in my lane.
Right.
And because I do that, I think I enjoy maybe the lowest professional liability premium out there,
Right.
And I tell people that when they're concerned about how risky our thing is, like that, when people talk about strokes and people talk about all that other stuff that, people are worried about, why we would have to do all these ortho tests or neuro tests or blood analysis or all that other stuff. When you limit yourself, and I don't like the term limit, because I like to think that I do one thing exclusively, and I am really good at it. And I tell practice members that all the time. We don't do but one thing in this office, but you can rest assured that we are masters at it. We have to be if we're going to stay in business. If you're selling one item and you're not really good at it, you're not going to be in business long.
I had
right?
an interesting experience that's a parallel to this that I'll share, because we were talking about cars here,
Right.
which is new. And this was 15 years ago. I had a Passat. I loved my Volkswagen Passat all-wheel drive, and the snow was great. And there was a little local import specialist that I brought that Passat to for service, and they did a great job. I thought they were just stellar with everything. And my wife had a different car. She had a Toyota Sienna, and it had some problems. And she said, and I said, well, let's bring it to the place that I go to, because they're great. I trust them. They're awesome. So I was there. I said, can you take a look at our Toyota Sienna? And he said to me, no, I can't. You have to specialize these days, We just specialize in European cars. And just at that, it was just very clear that this is our area of business focus, is this. Wouldn't even look at it. It was like a small little thing. Can you just help me with this little thing about this other car so I don't have to go somewhere else? No, we do this. Which is the same thing with chiropractic. Because chiropractors will get in trouble. Can you just look at this on my knee for me just for a moment?
Right? Can you just sign my son's permit license?
Right.
No, I can't.
Right.
That's not what I do.
Right.
And I have to be really clear with my associates too, to not ever feel bad about saying it's just not my field of expertise.
Right.
I say it all the time. It's not my field of expertise.
Right.
They ask me about exercises. They ask me about orthotics. They ask me about, exercise, nutritional things, mattresses. They ask you about everything, they do. It's just not my field of expertise. And I don't have a problem with saying I don't know. And I say to people, have you ever asked somebody for directions and maybe they weren't really exactly sure where the thing you were asking for is? And so they're going, well, you go down there, it's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 lights. And then I think it's on your right. Or maybe it's on your left. Well, if you don't know, just tell me you don't know. It's okay. No, you don't have to know everything there is to know in the world.
Right.
Just say, I don't know. And then I'll go ask somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
It's that simple. I don't know why we feel like we can't say I don't know to people. I don't know. Or, or if you have trouble with I don't know, it's not my field of expertise.
Right.
It's a beautiful answer and keeps you safe, because you're not, we're not meant to be everything to everybody.
Right.
I have no problem with that.
Right. And this is an important thing for people to understand if they want to practice, subluxation adjustment focused care. and stay in their lane. Now, another interesting thing about you and your life is that you practice in a way that many people say, oh, is not possible, which is a cash-based, cash-centered, all cash. It's not cash-based, it's all cash practice. So let's share with people how your office is set up for that and what your experience is doing that, because it's not, you haven't done it for just a couple of years. It's like you've done that for a little bit, like a long bit.
You know, it's funny that you say it's not just cash-based. I think that when people say subluxation-based, I'm like, I'm not subluxation-based. I'm subluxation exclusive. That's it. That's all I do. We locate, analyze, and correct vertebral subluxations, you know. And our objective there is, well, I take no credit for it. It's Dr. Joe Strauss's practice started. Actually, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary.
Wow.
50 years.
So cash is for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
1967. So the idea, though, was that we could make a place where anybody could come and get regular ongoing care, not just a couple of visits until they felt better, or, you know, not just for them, but for their whole family, that a person or family would be able to come and get the kind of care that we recommend people get on a regular ongoing basis. That it would be doable, practical, affordable, obviously. But we started all those years ago when insurance really wasn't a thing. So, you know, it was the 80s when that started changing. And I'm guessing maybe people came and left and never came back, or left and did come back. I don't know. But I can tell you that I have people in the office now who are with me, who come regularly, who, when they get in a car accident or have an injury at work and need to go on workers' comp, they might stay with me, but they might also go to another chiropractor and use insurance for their attorney's sake and for their case's sake. And when it's over, they come back.
Right.
Which tells me that the whole insurance model really doesn't suit people's regular ongoing need for chiropractic, you know?
Right.
So, so we've been cash. It's more than cash in as much as it's the set your own fee system. Right. People call it GPC. Some people call it box on the wall. I don't really like either one of those terms, and it's not how I communicate with the people in the office. I say, listen, your spine is so important. It's the single most important organ you have. We need to find a way for you to be able to take care of it, you and your family, on a regular, ongoing basis. You know, and people will say, oh, I have insurance. Yeah, that's probably only going to give you a couple of visits a year, maybe. I don't know. But this is so much easier. You could just put your copay, you know, just pay. You're going to get your own fee. So we're going to ensure that the amount is not too much for you. But knowing that the service that I'm providing is so valuable, probably nobody could afford it. I mean, what would you pay to have your body work as well as it possibly can?
Right.
You know? So we're working there to allow people, and not just on a couple of visits, but really on an ongoing visit, and from my perspective, for the rest of your life, you know, until your spine doesn't subluxate anymore, you're going to need my care. So we want you coming in regularly, and we want to make sure that money's not going to be a reason why you're not coming. Right. We do a lot of other things in our office that kind of solidify that. So we have long hours. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 in the morning till 8 at night, straight through. Saturday, 9 to 1. We have no appointments, so people come when it's convenient for them, not when it's convenient for me. And for the most part, your visits are pretty quick. So it's not, you're not going to sit out in my front room for an hour and a half, and then we're going to dilly-dally for, you know, you're not going to be in my office for 2 hours. You probably won't be in my office for 15 minutes. But all of that helps people be able to get in, be able to be seen efficiently, be able to be seen affordably, and so continue to come under regular care. And that's what I tell them, like, that is the best thing for them. We even have 3 different chiropractors. So like if you're not really into my adjustment, maybe I'm a little light touch for you, you can see somebody else in my office. Some people like a little heavier touch, some people like a little lighter touch, some people like a man, some people like a woman, whatever. So all of that is available at the Strauss Chiropractic Center. And it seems to be working, Danny, because
50 years.
50 years and maybe 80,000 people later, you know, I mean, we've seen a ton of people in that office.
So that can actually happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it can. It can and it does. And I don't like, you know, it's not about me. It really isn't. And people all the time, when we talk about numbers, those numbers mean nothing to me. They really don't. Except for the fact that they translate into real human beings, blood and flesh, lives that have benefited from a wholer nerve system, a better functioning nerve system. You know, that's what really floats my boat. That's what gets me excited. And a lot of these people, in fact, I saw Monday, I saw the gentleman that has the notoriety of being the longest standing practice member at the Strauss Chiropractic Center. He's been there 49 years. He's just a few after. It's sad. He's a PD and on a walk time. Driven there, moved into a different state. After these years and after all he's been through, he lost a wife, his kids moved away. I mean, like, I know this man's life. Right. I know this man's life. And so here he is at the end, still coming in because he values having his nerve system clear, whatever stage of life he's been in. Just saw him Monday, and I thought to myself that it might be the last time I see him, you know? Right. So when I think about the numbers, I don't think about the numbers. I think about the Lee Allens. You know, I think about the individual people and the impact that we have on their lives every day.
And, you know, there's an interesting thing that you mentioned there is that if we're in a service profession, which we are, we want to impact lives, and there's a value on regular, consistent chiropractic care throughout a person's life. The last I checked, insurance companies really weren't designed to cover that. Yeah. They're not supposed to cover you staying well.
They don't pay for your broccoli or your asparagus or your bottled water or your sleep time at night, for that matter, you know.
Right. The last I checked, mine would not cover any of that. So, and I have it for other reasons, which are important, and for my kids, but that's not what its intention was. Regular, consistent chiropractic care for you to be your optimum potential, you know. And so let's talk about another area, which is one of your favorite quotes is, as chiropractors, we don't work with what's wrong with your body, we address what's right with your body. That's such a pivot point. What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, that really gets to the heart of what we do and why we do it, doesn't it? And that's also a quote that I use with practice members. I don't want to say every day, but certainly in their beginning of their care, you know. It goes to that whole staying in your lane thing and being clear about what we're communicating and not just saying, I can help you, you know. They need to know that people do well when their nervous system's clear. You're a better expression of the life within you when your nerve system is clear. Does that mean that your headache's going to go away? I don't know. What we're doing, what our objective is not for the purpose of your headache or your backache or your menstrual cramps or your ear infections or whatever it happens to be, because chiropractic doesn't address that. What chiropractic addresses is this vitalistic principle, the innate intelligence of your body, the wisdom of your body that's continually organizing you and making you whatever expression of health and life you are right this minute. What we're going to do in our office is ensure that that is expressed as fully as possible so that you can be the best expression of that wisdom as you possibly can be, you know? And we talk like that in our office to people. Now, do I go into the 33 principles? No, I don't. But saying that is based on the understanding that I have of those 33 principles and what I've studied and understood over the last 25 years. That is a true expression of what's really happening when we remove that distortion. When we realign that bone and remove that distortion from the nerve system, that all of those principles fall into play. They don't need to know all of that, you know, and I don't burden them with reading green books. You know, you don't have to read a green book to get into my office, contrary to popular belief, maybe.
Or a blue one?
Well, maybe a blue one. But I mean, you know, when we talk about meeting people where they are, you know, maybe I do that at that level. And I'm not like I talk down to people, although, you know, I've been writing the kids newsletter for the ICPA now for about a year and a half. I write this monthly newsletter for the ICPA, and I love doing it because the newsletter is a kids newsletter. So I'm always writing with the understanding that my readers are maybe, you know, fourth grade, you know, third grade, that they're kids.
Right.
And so it's so nice to be able to write something simple, right? Keeping it simple. And what I found was the kids' newsletters work really well in my office for adults. So I will put the kids' newsletter that I write for the ICPA on the back of my office newsletter, and the adults love it. I feel like sometimes maybe we're too busy using polysyllabic words, you know, to make ourselves sound important or educated or whatever, that we miss the point of just talking knee to knee to the average Joe, you know? And it's really all we need to do, because that's mostly who comes into my office. I have maybe a couple Einstein people, but most of them are just average people, and they don't need to be burdened with big chiropractic philosophical constructs or scientific constructs. They don't really want or need to know all that. They want to know the basics. And so keeping it simple has really proved better in educating people than anything else I've done.
Well, imagine that. Now, let me ask you this: as we're coming to winding down, probably in a little bit, with
you never wind down. Who are you kidding? I know that you don't wind down.
True.
You just move on to the next thing, all high test.
That's all I do. But this is true. And God, you know, God bless Rochelle for dealing with that. Now, with that being said, if someone needs resources, because they do not get exposed to this line of thinking in the majority of chiropractic colleges at this point, unfortunately, what resources someone, DC or student, that wants to learn more about practice this way, what direction would you point them in to start?
To start, I would say, you know, I was brought up in the IFCO. You said originally FSCO. I honestly, when I tell you that I had connections as, you know, my instructors in school, but definitely in the FSCO, mentored me. I had close relationships now, long-time friendships with these people. And I didn't feel like I needed a coach, and I'm not against coaching or practice management, but I had people that I could just call and ask a question. Do you know what I mean? So, and as a member of the IFCO, there is a mentoring program that you can link specifically with people, but I think we have such a great community there, and so many different kinds of people, that you can get a little bit of one thing, maybe of creativity in your office from one person, or practice management from somebody else, marketing from somebody else, philosophy from somebody else. So I would definitely say, if you're a student, it's a no-brainer. You join the IFCO right now. It's $50 for the entire time you're in school. If you're a chiropractor, yeah, it's $500 a year, which I don't mean to belittle, like, and say that's nothing. But when you think about what some people are paying for coaching and mentoring and practice management, it's small, relatively speaking, and gives you access to all these great minds in chiropractic. So I would say, first and foremost, I would say join the IFCO, get yourself linked into some of these great people, and that's a great resource. Outside of that, well, the ICPA, I already mentioned that. If you're an ICPA member, you're already getting my monthly kids newsletter, along with a lot of other things. Chinium is just amazing. She's an alumni from Penn State as well, and I just adore her. Her energy, her work. She puts out a lot of resources. I find what we do in chiropractic, why do we always try to reinvent the wheel? Each and every one of us out in our own practices. We're all doing our own things. It's totally okay to use somebody else's newsletter. Danny, I steal your stuff all the time. I love the stuff you write on your little whiteboards. Those are beautiful to use in the office. You need talk like that. When we practice in this model, Danny, it's not a one and done.
Right.
That's why I think it's so easy to treat symptoms, because you could say, oh, okay, your headache's better. Boom, that's easy. We got to get people understanding how amazing their bodies are, all these different things that are happening in their bodies, and getting them thinking in a completely different way than the rest of the world thinks. And that takes constant communication, constant education, and constant stealing things from your friends to keep going.
and the education never ends.
No.
As my friend Joe Borio says, you make an assumption, which is that they, and your friend, Dr. Joe Borio, says, you make an assumption that they never get it. And once you think they get it, then you made a mistake, because you have to keep educating people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I told you, Danny, that my other favorite quote now,
Yes.
as of the Berkshires a couple of weeks ago, Sean Dill said, chiropractic is bigger than you think. And I've just found that to be true on so many different levels now. And it's definitely applies to the people in your office. Whenever they get themselves to a place where they think they get chiropractic, then we need to take them to that next level,
Right.
because it's bigger than you think. Chiropractic for all of us is bigger than we think. We can study those principles and study that philosophy. And even it's bigger than BJ thought, Danny. Chiropractic is bigger than BJ thought. And we see that in his green books, right? How he grew, and then his understanding would change, and then he'd go someplace else and he's like, oh my gosh, look at this. It's bigger than that. And then we get here and oh my gosh, it's bigger than that.
Right.
Because our bodies are so amazing.
Right.
We will constantly, hopefully, continue to just see a bigger and bigger vision, and hopefully a greater and greater appreciation for this amazing organism that we call our bodies. And the beauty of that is that every day we get to fall in love again.
Yep.
Right?
I
So
love it.
amazing.
Love it. Absolutely.
So I did mention IFCO, obviously Sherman,
Yes.
right? Got to go to Sherman. Lyceum's coming up May 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be presenting some of these ideas.
And from what I understand, it's also your birthday then.
Yes, yes, it is. It was always on Memorial Day weekend, and I actually talked to President Cordero before he changed the date, and he said, what would you think about changing the date? And I said, that's my birthday weekend. I knew it was going to be my birthday weekend, first weekend in May. It's always going to be my birthday weekend. So come celebrate my birthday with me at Sherman Lake. They've changed it now. No. It is. And I've never been to, where are we going to go? To the Beacon.
Oh, yes.
It'll have to be after I speak in case it makes me very, very sick.
You've never been there. All those trips to Spartanburg, you've never been there. Yeah, you want to go after you speak.
Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see how strong my innate intelligence is at that point. Like, yes. I don't know. We'll have to see if it's totally like ready for, what is it, like a gallon of grease or something? What is
like
it?
That, basically.
Yeah.
You'll test your adaptive capacity.
Hey, I have my spine checked regularly, so I should be as able to adapt to it as possible. So I'm thinking of resources. So I said IFCO. I said
ICPA.
I said Sherman College for sure. How about the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation? There's a lot of great information coming out of there. Really great information coming out of there.
And let's say something about that while you're on that. The Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation Research is who we will be raising funds for this year through Mile High.
Oh, is it? Beautiful. Yes. Good for us.
So, and the work that Dr. McCoy, Dr. Kent, and their team are doing is very important for the future, and also their commitment to the lexicon that they choose to use in their research is very important. And another resource is, since we mentioned case management, is make sure you're backed by a malpractice company that's going to back that kind of case management that we've talked about, which would be Chiro Futures. So that would be another thing to reference.
Yeah, and you know what, Danny, that I always say about Chiro Futures, because that's who I'm with. I do mention to people that it's a great rate, and that makes sense to anybody, right? Get a great rate. But from the other side, I feel very, very convicted about what I do with my money, and that's true in chiropractic with the people I support and sponsor. And, I'm not an ACA member. I'm not an ICA member. I'm an IFCO member because I want my money going to a group that I know supports me, protects me, promotes my style of practice. The same should be true of your malpractice insurance, of your professional liability. It just makes no sense at all to give your money to a group that's trying to do your model of practice in. I just don't understand that. Right. So from both perspectives, Chiro Futures is the group to be with.
There you go.
And if you don't understand that, you should really talk with me more.
And you can do that at Lyceum,
yes,
the May 4th weekend, and celebrate not only Dr. Judy's birthday, but also Cinco de Mayo and Sherman College. Who wouldn't want to go?
So much to celebrate, so little time.
And you can also do that by seeing her at Mile High, August 17th to 20th. And we're really grateful for what you're going to share and how you're going to help people. I want to remind people of something about going to events. Choose what events you're going to go to based on a couple things. A, do they represent your values? Mile High doesn't represent your values? Don't go to it. B, choose the event by where does the money go? Does the money somehow do some good for the profession in some way? At least some portion of it, And then number 3, not just for the speakers, not just for the speaker time, but who are you going to rub elbows with? Because I personally find, I've gone to lots of programs in my 20 years of being a chiropractor. I often get the most valuable thing from the conversations I have with people at the event. And people forget that. It's not just like, do I like every speaker and did somebody on stage say something I didn't agree with or didn't like? Because I guarantee you every program you're going to go to, somebody's going to say something you don't like, right? Or you don't jive with. but the camaraderie that you have with people and the conversations that you might have in the restaurant or at a meal, where that can be what changes the game for you. And I have found that happen multiple times in my life, and that's why I like going to things like Sherman Lyceum.
I couldn't agree with you more, Danny, because you're right. There are always going to be speakers that you just don't connect with. But isn't it nice when that speaker's done to be able to go out in the hallway and go, I don't know about that point. Did you hear when he said blah, blah, blah? And somebody else go, yeah. And then you start like wrestling it down. That's what we're supposed to do as thinking, growing, philosophical chiropractors. We're supposed to be, you don't take anything at face value. You think it through. That was one of my favorite Reggie quotes, Danny. Since you asked me about my favorite quotes, Reggie said, think, damn it.
Right.
Think.
Right.
This isn't, high school where you read American history and you regurgitate it back on the paper. You should be making sense of this vitalistic principle that we're trying to teach others. And you're not going to be able to teach others if you can't understand it yourself. Right. And so these are really like playgrounds where we get to formulate new ideas, grow in our understanding. And so sometimes you didn't even get to speak with the speakers that are on stage, but the people who are sitting next to you, elbow to elbow, you're right. It's a wealth of information sitting right there.
Right, and that's that is the big thing about going to programs. I look to see the speakers are. I'm like, oh, I like this 50 or 75% of them, or 90%, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be 100%, but I want to be around the people that are there and be part of that community, and that's being created. And I think that is the important thing, and I experience that a lot. So, and one of the things is I always get to see you. So.
Thanks, Danny. Can I offer one tidbit to people?
Yeah.
What I like to do when I'm going to a program. You're saying everything that you said, spot on. One thing I would add to that is call 3 of your friends. Call 3 of your friends. See if they're going, and if they're not, invite them. People that you would like to be sitting next to, and maybe they are already going. But just drop a quick note on Facebook. It's so easy to do. You go into Messenger, you pick 3 of your friends, and you go, hey, are you guys going to Mile High this year? Let's go.
Right.
It's that simple, and then you're guaranteed a good time, right?
Right, because you're with the people that you want to hang with.
Absolutely.
So, yes. Love and appreciate it, Judy. Love and appreciate it. Love and appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for being part of the Mile High podcast. Dr. Judy, I could never get enough of listening to you. So I look forward to seeing you speak at Sherman and at Mile High and wherever I see you next. Thank you for your service to the IFCO, the ICPA, and to Sherman College, and to chiropractic as a whole and your community. Everybody who's tuned in, if you've enjoyed this podcast, share it with someone. Let someone else get the information that she just shared by sharing it with them, and subscribe to the podcast, as well as make sure you join us August 17th to 20th in the Mile High State, and you can register.
The price is just going up. Register now.
Yeah, it's just going to happen, and nobody wants to pay full price, so you might as well do it ahead of time. And register at www.milehighchiro.org. And thank you for being a Mile High subscriber. Like our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.